And this morning what I want to do is to talk about the way we do communion, or the Lord's table, or Lord's Supper here at St. Mo's. If you've been here with us before, you'll have noticed it's a little bit different than the way it is often done in churches. It's a little bit chaotic. It's often quite crowded. Sometimes it's a little bit funny. Sometimes there are mess-ups. And I want to address that this morning, say that some of that is on purpose, not all of it. But I want to explain why we do things the way we do. So in the first century world around the Mediterranean, the world that the New Testament was written into, they had these things called symposiums. Maybe some of you have been to a symposium as a business person or a student. But in the first century world, what a symposium was this. Imagine a wedding reception in a brothel with a frat party at the same time. Okay, that was the scene. It was like this crazy drunken fest with all sorts of untoward things going on. And you might think, wow, that sounds better than symposiums I've been to. But really, they weren't a fun scene. They really only existed for a very few people, the people who were throwing the party, or the people on whose behalf the party was being thrown, and everybody else there, the women, the kids, were there to be taken advantage of, and most of the party goers were there because they were just a bullet point in somebody else's resume. And into that world, and over against that picture of a feast, Jesus gave his followers something different, a different sort of meal. And the meal he gave them, we know as the Lord's Supper or communion or Lord's table or Eucharist or whatever. That meal has its roots in the soil of the old Jewish Passover feast, when they ate a meal together of unleavened bread to celebrate when God busted them out of enslavement out of Egypt. And it also was instituted, it remembers the last night that Jesus ate a meal with his closest circle of friends, right before he went to the cross and busted his people out of enslavement to sin for all time. And so the meal that Jesus set up is over and against and flies in the face of those symposia, because it's not about honoring one or two great ones at the expense of everybody else. The only great one at the meal of the Lord's Supper is the one who's already poured himself out for the benefit of everybody else. And so Paul writes to the Corinthians about their practice of this supper, and he says, it's crazy that you're coming together and some of you are gobbling down a full meal while other people are going hungry. This isn't about honoring a few at the expense of others. No, this is about recognizing this family that we're all a part of which Jesus is the head. And it only makes sense to treat each other as brothers and sisters in this family of which he's the head. We need to show each other the same sort of love that he has showed us by pouring himself out for us. So the way we've designed communion here at St. Mo's is a little bit different, and it's trying to align ourselves with that spirit. So this is what it looks like on a Sunday morning. We'll see it. We'll do it in a few minutes here. We have 3 stations across the front here. And at each one of the stations are 2 servers. Now, for each service, we only sign up 3 servers. And those are, elders or pastors or church leaders, because we want to know we've got somebody there to do it. But we reserve 3 spots. Each one of those people is supposed to have a partner serving with them. So when you walk in here on a Sunday morning, there are 3 serving spots that have not yet been delegated, which means the servers who know they're serving are trying to they're going to invite somebody else from the church family to serve alongside them. Which means, it might not have happened to you yet, but it probably will down the road. Somebody will come up to you and say, hey, like right now for real, hey, would you be willing to serve with me in a few minutes? And then you can say, we'll see what she says, but you can say, actually, no, I'm not comfortable doing that this morning. And that's just fine, totally fine. Or you can say, hey, not right now, maybe in a few weeks, check back in with me. Or you can say, sure. So we'll see what Hyuna says. She says, sure, wonderful. Hyuna, consider yourself self-scheduled for here in a few minutes with me. And I just want to tell you, if you're asked that, it's okay if you haven't been a Christian forever. It's okay if you don't consider yourself a giant of the faith. The group of people serving are meant to be representative of the breadth of the body of Christ. So we've got some people who have been walking with Jesus for years serving, and some people who are brand new, people of all different backgrounds. And I would just encourage you, if you're comfortable with it, it is an amazing privilege and fun to be able to serve other people when they come up. And you're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to panic. I don't know what to do. It's okay. You just follow the lead of the person who's invited you. It's on them. They can improvise. It's going to be okay. So the person who's invited you up will hold the bread, and they'll distribute the bread, and it's on them to get the rationing of that right so they don't run out early. And if they do, we'll be okay. You, if you are invited up by one of those servers, you hold the cup. So they'll give a piece of bread to everybody in the little cluster, and then you hold out the cup to everybody after they've given everybody a piece of bread. And if you want something to say, here's what you can say. You can say, the blood of Christ poured out for you. The blood of Christ poured out for you. But you don't have to say anything. It's perfectly fine just to look at them and smile, make eye contact, hold out the cup, keep them from gulping it, just hold it down where they can dip. Okay? So you feel free to turn this down if you want to turn it down. Nobody's going to be upset. Feel free to accept it if you want, or say, hey, maybe in a few weeks, check back in with me. That's the way we celebrate here. And we also, as I'll describe in a few minutes, we encourage you to come up not on your own and not just with the people who live under your roof, but with other people. Maybe the people in front of you in the line or behind you in the line, people who don't live under your roof, in groups of 2 to 8 or something like that without awkwardly counting. Just cluster around as we are representing this is the body of Christ, sharing this meal together where the only great one is Jesus. And he has already given himself sacrificially for us.